Today, we're cracking open a classic that completely changed the game. Way of the Turtle. This book is legendary. Why? Because it shattered the myth that trading is some kind of bark art reserved for Wall Street geniuses. It revealed a step-by-step system that anyone could follow, turning or adding it, and the story behind the title. It all started with a high-stakes bet. Picture this, it is 1983. On the chaotic floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, two trading titans, Richard Dennis and Bill Eckhart, are locked in a debate. Are great, or are they made? Dennis was adamant. He believed he could train anyone. He famously declared, "I can grow traders just like they grow turtles in Singapore." He was so confident, he put his money where his mouth was. He placed an ad in the Wall Street Journal looking for ordinary people to teach his secret methods. He'd not only train them, but he'd also give each of them $1 million of his own money to trade with. Over 1,000 people applied. Only 13 were chosen. They became known as the Turtles. The author of this book, Curtis Faith, was the most successful turtle of them all. He joined the program at just 19, and in 4 years, made over $31 million for Dennis. Decades later, he wrote this book, and he dropped a bombshell. The methods the Turtles used weren't some top-secret formula at all. Things like B, when the price breaks a 20-day high, or use volatility to size your position. Traders had known about this stuff for years, so why did the Turtles make millions while everyone else didn't? The answer wasn't in the rules. It was in their ability to actually follow them. Part 2, the execution gap. Why knowing isn't doing. Early in the experiment, the market served up a golden opportunity. It was February 1984. The price of heating oil suddenly broke out, soaring upwards. According to the rules, this was a clear signal to go all in. But guess what? Only one person did it. Curtis Faith. What about the others? They hesitated. Some were afraid of buying at the top. Others thought the contract was expiring soon, making it too risky. While they were second-guessing, the price just kept climbing. In the end, Curtis made 3 times more money than anyone else on that single trade. You see, the gap wasn't in what they knew. It was in what they were willing to do. And this reveals the great paradox of trading. It is a game of probability, but everyone treats it like a game of prediction. The simplest rules are often the most effective, but people are obsessed with complex, fancy indicators. The golden rule is cut your losses and let your profits run. But most people do the exact opposite. They grab small profits and hold on to massive losses. The real genius of the turtle experiment wasn't the trading system itself. It was the proof that the key to winning isn't about being smarter or more talented than everyone else. It is about having a system that saves you from yourself. As Dennis himself said, "I could publish my trading rules in the newspaper, and no one would follow them." The key is consistency and discipline. Part 3. The system vs. human nature. Every single rule the Turtles followed was designed to fight a specific flaw in human psychology. They used strict position sizing to combat greed. They used non-negotiable stop losses to combat false hope. They used trend following to combat the constant urge to predict the future. But to understand this, you have to ask a fundamental question. Where does the money in the market actually come from? Is trading just a glorified form of gambling? Curtis argues the key difference is one simple concept: positive expectancy. Think about it like this. Gambling in a casino is a losing game because the odds are stacked against you. It has a negative expectancy. A good trading system, however, must have a positive expectancy. Here's a simple example. Let's play a coin toss game. Heads, you win $10. Tails, you lose $8. The odds are 50/50ths, but your expectancy is positive. 50% x $10, 50% 8. Over the long run, as long as you keep playing, you are mathematically guaranteed to make money. That's how the Turtles won. Not by being right every single time, but by making sure that when they were right, they won big, and when they were wrong, they lost small. Over time, the math worked in their favor, and this works because of who is in the market. Curtis breaks it down into 3 types of players. 1. Hedgers. These are businesses trying to reduce risk. An airline might buy oil futures to lock in a price for fuel. A farmer might sell wheat futures to guarantee a price for his crop. They don't care about short-term profits. They care about stability. 2. Commercials, market makers. Think of them as the market's middlemen, making money on the tiny spreads between buying and selling. They trade frequently and thrive on volume. 3. Speculators. These are the trend hunters, and this is where the turtles lived. They don't care about a company's balance sheet. They only care about one thing: which way the price is moving. When these 3 groups interact, a pattern emerges. The market mostly chops around sideways. But every now and then, when the speculators all jump on a move, the price breaks out of its range, and a massive trend is born. The turtles' entire job was to be ready for that breakout moment. Part 4, the 4 commandments and the enemy within. According to Curtis, the entire complex turtle training program could be boiled down to just 4 simple disciplines. 1. Find an edge. Your edge isn't a magic indicator. It is a recurring market pattern. The turtle's edge was simple. Once a trend begins, it is more likely to continue than to reverse. 2. Manage your risk. You have to stay in the game long enough for your edge to play out. The turtles never risked more than 1% of their total account on a single idea. This ensured that even a long losing streak couldn't wipe them out. 3. Be unshakable. Execute your system like a machine. If you have 3 losing trades in a row and a 4th signal appears, you take it. No hesitation. You trust the long-term math, not your short-term feelings. 4. Keep it simple. Complex systems are hard to follow under pressure. The turtles use just 2 main ideas: breakouts and volatility. The simpler the rules, the easier they are to stick with when things get crazy. But if it's that simple, why do most people fail? Because our brains are hardwired with cognitive biases that are disastrous for trading. Curtis lists a few killers. Loss aversion. The pain of losing $100 is far greater than the joy of winning $100. This is why we refuse to sell a losing stock. Outcome bias. We judge our decisions based on the result, not the process. If a bad decision makes money, we think we're a genius. Recency bias. If we've had a few losses recently, we assume our system is broken and give up right before the big winner comes. Anchoring. We get obsessed with our entry price, instead of paying attention to what the market is actually doing now. Overconfidence. After a few wins, we think we're smarter than the rules. We start tweaking the system and end up missing the very trends it was designed to catch. These biases can take a winning system and, in the hands of a human, turn it into a losing one. Which brings us to the most critical part of the turtle system: how they manage their money to survive these mental traps. That's coming up next. Part 5. The shield. How to manage risk like a turtle. If trend following was the turtle's spear, then risk management was their unbreakable shield. Curtis says it over and over: the biggest risk in trading isn't a market crash. It's you. It's your own irrational decisions, like going all in on one bet or refusing to admit you were wrong. The very first lesson Dennis taught the turtles was about the mathematics of ruin. Imagine you have $1,000. You bet $500 on a coin flip. Even with 50-50 its odds, there is a 25% chance you lose twice in a row and go bankrupt. You're out of the game, forever. Risk isn't linear. It is exponential. The bigger your bet, the faster you can blow up. So the turtles' number 1 goal wasn't to make money, it was to survive. How did they do it? They started by measuring risk with a tool they called N. N is basically the average true range. In simple terms, it is a measure of how much a market typically moves in a single day. Calculating it is simple. You just find the average daily price range over the last 20 days. Think of as a universal ruler for risk. A $2 move in crude oil, where N might be 2, is normal, but a $2 move in soybeans might be huge, and allowed the turtles to standardize risk across every market, from gold to currencies to corn. With this ruler, they built their entire risk model around one concept, the unit. Here's the formula. 1 unit equals 1% of your account shown in dollars. Let's break it down. If you have a $1 million account, your risk per trade is 1% or $10,000. Let's say for crude oil, N equals $2. A standard contract is 1,000 barrels. So 1 N is worth $2,000. You take your risk, $10,000, and divide it by the value of N, $2,000. The answer is 5. So 1 unit is 5 contract. This is brilliant. It means that for every 1 N the price moves, your account changes by exactly 1%. This system automatically adjusts your position size. In quiet markets you trade bigger. In volatile markets you trade smaller. The dollar risk is always the same, but they also had safety valves. No more than 4 units in any single market. No more than 6 units in highly correlated markets, like crude oil and gasoline. No more than 12 total units in one direction, long or short. These limits prevented them from getting overexposed, even when the system was firing on all cylinders. And finally, the most important rule of all, the stop loss. The rule was brutal and simple. If any trade ever went against you by 2N, you exit. Immediately, no questions. If you bought oil at $80 and N was $2, your stop loss was at $76. If it hit $76, you sold. Period. This wasn't about giving up. It was about ensuring a small mistake never turned into a catastrophic one. For the turtles, the stop loss was like a seatbelt. It was non-negotiable. So you know how to get in and how to get out when you are wrong. But what about when you are right? How do you let those profits run? That is where the exit strategy comes in. And it is just as simple and powerful. For their short-term system, they would exit if the price hit a 10-day low. For their long-term system, they would exit if the price hit a 20-day low. That is it. As long as the price didn't make a new recent low, they stayed in. Even if it meant watching their profits shrink by 30% or more. They knew that trends are wild rides, and you have to be willing to hold on to catch the big one. Part 6. The Final Boss. Conquering Your Own Mind. Curtis makes a stunning observation in the book. All 13 turtles were taught the exact same rules. They used the same money from the same accounts, but their final results were wildly different. Some made tens of millions. Others barely broke even or lost money. What was the difference? It wasn't the system. It was the person. Trading is a crucible that exposes and magnifies every human weakness. You can have the perfect plan, but when the market starts swinging and your money is on the line, primal emotions take over. Fear, greed, hope, regret. They hijack your brain and force you to make the worst possible decisions. This is the final boss battle of trading. The one against yourself. The turtles found that the most successful traders were the ones who conquered their own inner demons. Curtis says, his secret wasn't his intelligence. It was his ability to act like a robot. Even if he had 5 losing trades in a row, when the 6th signal appeared, he took it without flinching. Even if a winning trade saw its profits cut in half, he would hold on with diamond hands until the system gave him an exit signal. He developed a simple habit. Before every single trade, he would ask himself 2 questions. 1. Does this trade follow my system's rules? 2. If I am wrong, Am I 100% okay with the loss I will take at my stop? Only if the answer to both was yes, would he place the trade. This simple checklist was his defense against emotional, impulsive decisions. In the end, all the psychological traps have the same cure. Replace feelings with a process, just like a pilot runs through a pre-flight checklist. The turtles turned trading into a fixed routine. Check for a breakout, calculate the unit size, set the stop loss. The market could be crashing or soaring. Their heart could be pounding. But the process never changed. And this is where we discover the true genius of the Turtle Way. It is not a secret formula for how to buy and sell. It is a masterclass in how to control yourself. The traders who win in the long run aren't winning against the market. They're winning the battle against themselves. Part 7. Life Lessons from the Turtle Way. At the end of the book, Curtis reveals that the Turtle program taught him more than just how to make money. It gave him a mental framework for dealing with an uncertain world. And if you strip away the trading jargon, you'll find that the core principles of the Turtle Way can apply to anyone's life. After all, life, like trading, is full of uncertainty. We're all just trying to make the best decisions we can with incomplete information. Here are the 5 biggest life lessons from the book. 1. Embrace imperfection. The Turtles never looked for a holy grail system that won 100% of the time. They accepted that losses were part of the game. Life is the same. There is no perfect job, perfect relationship, or perfect plan. Stop chasing perfection and instead find what's a good fit for you and your temperament. 2. Use systems to fight chaos. The Turtles' greatest strength was their discipline to follow the system, especially when they didn't feel like it. We can do the same in life. Create rules to automate good decisions. For example, save 20% of every paycheck before you spend anything, or go to the gym every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, no matter what. A rule is what carries you forward when your motivation fades. 3. Respect the unknown. The Turtles always used stop losses and position limits because they knew a black swan event, a total surprise, could happen at any time. How are you managing risk in your own life? Are all your savings in one investment? Is your entire career dependent on one skill or one company? Diversify your skills, your income streams, and your investments. It's not being paranoid, it's being prepared. 4. Embrace the power of the long term. Most of the Turtles' profits came from a very small number of huge trends. To catch them, they had to endure long, boring periods of nothing happening. Life is like that too. The skills you are learning, the relationships you are building, the habits you are forming, they might not show immediate results, but they are compounding. Keep going. The trend will eventually emerge. 5. Stay humble. The Turtles never claimed to know what the market would do next. That humility is what kept them open, minded, and safe. In life, the most dangerous position is to be certain that you are right. Acknowledge that you might be wrong. Listen to other perspectives. Be willing to change your mind. In life, just like in trading, being able to admit a mistake and change course isn't weakness. It is the ultimate strength. In the end, these lessons, just like the trading rules, are simple to understand but hard to do. But as Curtis suggests, you can start small. Pick one rule for your life. Maybe it is saving that first 10%, or reading 10 pages of a book every night. When you make these small rules a habit, you'll find that navigating life's uncertainty gets a little bit easier. You learn to replace emotion with process, and chaos with a system. And that might be the greatest secret the Turtles have to offer.